working? There we go. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:30, and we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Mary, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, we'll start with the KRMS student presentation. And go ahead, Kristen.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the May GWRSD meeting here at Kingswood Middle School. At Kingswood, we continue to champion for children and pride ourselves in serving the children and families of our district. On behalf of the faculty and staff, we'd like to thank the school board superintendent and the community for their support. Being kind, respectful, motivated, safe is at the center of all we do here at KRMS. We believe that it is important that our students understand and live by these values. The creation of these school-wide expectations allow children to access common language, expectations, and instruction from all the adults in the building. The intent of these efforts is to sustain a climate and culture within our building that supports all learners. A major focus for KRMS over the last year has been to increase opportunities for students to have more voice and to create an equitable environment for students where they all feel like they belong. To accomplish this, our staff and students have had the pleasure of working with Great Schools Partnership on multiple occasions. Our main purpose of this work is to build a deeper understanding of perspective and lived experiences of students and help identify ways to enhance student engagement and connection to our school. Tonight, we want to highlight the work many of our students have been doing with our National History Day competition. The students who have participated in this have grown tremendously as researchers, historians, and more importantly, leaders. We've worked closely with the Crescent Lake School in these endeavors. They have mentored each other, and they've bonded on trips, such as the one that we are going to be asking for some funding for later on. To see the 8th graders playing games with our 6th graders from Crescent Lake and supporting and prepping them for interviews has been truly powerful. We are extremely proud of this group of students who will be participating in the national competition in June, and later tonight you'll hear some requests for funding to support those endeavors. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Katie Hills, who will introduce our students who will present school tonight.
Good evening. Tonight's presentation is led by KRMS teacher, Kristen Brown, and several of her students. Their presentation focuses on their National History Day project, which is centered on historical research, writing, and presenting. Each year, students are presented with a new project theme from the National History Day nonprofit education organization. Students dig into primary and secondary sources and evaluate these for bias, accuracy, and validity. They practice and refine the skills of analyzing in historical time and context around a given topic, as well as writing for a formal audience and presenting their findings to a group of professionals. Some of our students have had the opportunity to attend the national competition, during which they meet students from all over the world and view each other's projects. Hosted in Washington, D.C., students also tour museums and monuments, including the Smithsonian and Arlington National Cemetery. The National History Day project addresses several of our 7th grade competencies. Most notably, it allows students to demonstrate proficiency in gathering relevant information from multiple print and visual resources, writing informative texts to examine a topic and convey ideas, and orally presenting their claims and findings in a focused, coherent manner. This year's theme is rights and responsibilities, and I believe you will be as impressed with tonight's presentation as I am. Please help me welcoming Ms. Brown and Aralisa, Drea, Solara, and Ellie.
whiskey companies make more money. Without the amount of medical advancement that we have today, doctors struggle to identify the cause of these deaths. People suspected many things, such as diseases, but few connected what the children were consuming to the cause of their demise.
In the 19th century, New York was transforming from a small town into a bustling city. As people flocked in from all over the world, businesses needed more efficient means of acquiring products to accommodate for the growing population. Farm-fresh produce was getting harder and harder to ship into the city, as the food would spoil over the long journey. Some people tried exporting goods in ships, and while this did cut down the shipping time, it was extremely expensive and unethical. Companies needed a way of manufacturing goods inside the city, but there was no room for pastures and gardens. This led to an idea. Milk manufacturers decided to make farms inside the city, replacing grass and fresh air for metal and concrete.
In addition to the expanding population, the alcohol industry was quickly increasing in size. One of the most common divisions in the industry was whiskey distilleries. In the 1800s, whiskey was made from many different types of base grain, including corn, barley, and rye. This base grain would then be malted. This involved being steeped in water and then left in heaps to germinate. These pots would be stirred often with wooden shovels to aerate the grain. The grain would then be dried using a kiln to heat it up. After that, the grain is ground into a fine powder and water is added to make a mash. Yeast was then added and most of the sugars were extracted from the mixture. After this was done, the companies were left with two products: the base liquid for whiskey and beer and a grimy mash of the leftover grain. The liquid was kept and distilled to make it stronger, but there was no use for the grain. Oftentimes, the steaming hot slop was just thrown out with the trash. Whiskey distillers were looking for something to do with this excess product.
Cows at the time were being fed grain, and companies saw an opportunity to make money off their waste. Soon there were metal shacks being constructed off the side of whiskey distilleries. These would later become the home of hundreds of imported cows. The makeshift barns had no windows and little ventilation. The cows were kept shoulder to shoulder with no room to move or even perform basic necessities. This lack of exercise caused the cows to become weak and scrawny. The animals were harnessed to a long trough that spread the length of the barn. These troughs were attached to the whiskey manufacturing equipment. After the whiskey making process was complete, a boiling hot mixture of whiskey residue and leftover grain was pumped into the trough. This blend was commonly called swill and was the only food or drink cows were ever supplied with. At first the animals would refuse the pungent slosh, but after a couple of days of going hungry, they gave in and consumed it.
A diet exclusively made up of swill caused numerous health issues in the cows. They became sick, very thin, developed sores all over their bodies, and often experienced severe hair loss. They were also very susceptible to diseases, and the close quarters resulted in sickness spreading quickly through the stables. The cows would frequently lose important body parts such as their tails, hooves, and even legs. The swill was high in sugar, and the lack of variety in diet caused the cow's teeth to start to rot and fall out. It was even said that when the animal from disease and alteration can no longer stand, mechanical means are used to support it while under milking, and the process is continued until the cow dies. The milk is used with the rest.
As a result of the cow's maltreatment, the cows became extremely ill and began to produce an awfully tinted blue milk. Strains of the animals produced more milk on this diet. Many people suspected it was because all of the cow's excrement was passed out with the milk. In addition to the color, the milk sometimes had chunks of pus, clumps of hair, and other disgusting items due to the lack of cleanliness in the stables. The factory knew this milk would make sales decline, for people would grow suspicious of the strange color, texture, and mysterious ingredients. For a quick fix, they mixed and mingled all sorts of toxic things into the product without second thought. Things like molasses, chalk, raw eggs, flour, and plaster of pears were added to the liquid. It was even rumored that they added ground up brains of different animals to make the drink thicker and more creamy. They then advertised this deadly liquid as pure country milk and sold it at a very low price. People, especially the city poor, were attracted to the deal, and soon the milk was flying off the shelves. Catastrophe was just around the corner.
As sales of the contaminated milk increased, tragedy occurred throughout the whole of New York. People, mostly young children, became just as sick as the cows, if not worse.
Rather than people getting sick because they were drinking really gross stuff, the children in particular started suffering from malnutrition, because this wasn't pure milk, but milk that was sort of enhanced with all kinds of sort of weird stuff to make it look like milk, and the cows were undernourished and malnourished. It was the quality of the milk that led to, oftentimes, the urban poor, people who weren't getting enough food already, and their children then suffering.
Milk was advertised as a pure, highly nutritious substitute for breast milk. This, along with the extremely cheap cost, appealed to mainly poorer families. Women in the lower working classes didn't get much, if any, maternity leave and needed to return to work as quickly as possible to help support their families. Therefore, they started weaning their babies off of breast milk earlier, and under the misconception that cow's milk was as healthy for infants, fed them the not-so-fine fresh soy milk instead. Middle and upper-class women were expected to almost always be available for visiting and leading the household despite their numerous chores and caretaking responsibilities. In addition, breastfeeding was considered immoral and not socially acceptable at the time. This led to families frequently hiring a wet nurse or resorting to cow's milk. Wealthy families could afford to import fresher and healthier milk from rest of the city, but the lower working classes could not. Soon after infants shifted over from breast milk to soy milk, they began to show signs of ailment. The drink had little to no nutritional value, and the children began to grow weak and have violent diarrhea. This caused them to be extremely dehydrated, and eventually they would perish due to malnutrition. Illnesses including smallpox, typhus, yellow fever, and cholera were common at the time and often were the cause of many young deaths. In addition to this, the symptoms of many digestive diseases closely matched the ones of victims of the spill milk scandal. This led to lots of confusion as to the cause of the deaths, and it took a while for people to finally realize the true culprit. In addition, many of these cases occurred in children of poor families, so sadly there wasn't much medical investigation that went into finding the cause until later in history. Sales for spill milk continued to grow, and by 1860, it was predicted that up to 1/3 of all the milk consumed in New York City was spill milk. It was estimated that up to 8,000 infants died every year due to the malnourishment caused by the milk. Eventually, a couple of people started connecting the drink to the deaths. One of these people was Robert Hartley, an outspoken temperance reformer with strong anti-alcohol views. In the mid-1840s, he published a report linking spill milk to infant mortality, but he was often dismissed as biased based on the fact that he was against alcohol altogether. His protest never really caused any change, and things mainly stayed the same.
Another protester is Frank Leslie, an enterprising journalist. In 1858, Leslie purchased so-called farm fresh milk from a nearby street vendor. When he looked closer at the milk, he noticed it contained clumps of glass, hair, and other gross items. He couldn't help but feel the need to share his experience and observations with the public. Leslie had previously had his illustrations featured in many newspapers. He even had his own paper titled Frank Leslie's Illustrated Newspaper. With all his connections, it was effortless to start an argument. He published many articles protesting the milk in his own paper, and even took up full pages of advertisements and others. These stories featured dramatic titles and even told readers which specific distilleries were selling the brown milk. Soon the papers began to circulate and found that the main audience reading them was people in the wealthier upper class. Since most of the deaths were occurring in the lower class, most people reading the papers didn't see need for change as they were not affected. Even though the paper didn't cause a large amount of adjustment on public level, it inspired people to start doing their own research. Medical and scientific publications about spill milk soared from under 10 published articles to over 80 from 1839 to 1912. Eventually, New York food safety officials took interest in the story and realized there was a big need for change.
In 1862, New York signed a law declaring it illegal to sell spill milk or to adulterate milk. In 1906, the FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, was formed and passed its first regulation, the Pure Food and Drug Act.
Food manufacturers were putting anything in any kinds of food, regardless of their safety or health. And so there was regulation put in place to try to make sure that food producers were not sickening the country people who make food.
Basically, what the Pure Food and Drug Act did was, I think, threefold. So one, truth in advertising. You could not advertise that your product did something that you didn't do. This also affects medicine, too, not just food. The other thing it did is it required companies to include their ingredients on labels. It created a list of banned substances that cannot be added to food, which we still continue to build on.
Around 1910, New York City was one of the first cities in the United States to mandate milk pasteurization, which is a process that helps extend the shelf life and sterilize the product. Shortly after that, the entire state of New York required pasteurizing. This paved the way for the U.S. Public Health Service to start recommending and eventually requiring the pasteurization of milk nationwide.
Things like, as it might be, the spoiled milk story in general in the 1850s and into the 1860s was a lesson that we need to protect consumers. We need to protect the American people. And you want, as a consumer, we want to be able to trust the products that we get at the grocery store.
Is a morality to feeding for everyone in this country to have access to good and healthy food that's not going to kill them, which is something that we take for granted now, that we can go to the supermarket and buy safe food, but that was not guaranteed in the 19th century.
and letting our kids here present their product that they've created. So to give you an idea, these kiddos have been working with me after school. They started coming in about November. And so every Monday after school, these kids have been staying and working on this project. The project has been completely created by them. One really fun thing about National History Day is that it gives students the opportunity to find untold stories. And this being one of them. I don't know about you, but I have never heard the story of the Swill Mill scandal and the number of deaths that it caused in history. And these students, these outstanding students, were able to find this in history, be able to find primary and secondary sources that supported it, and then they even went out and all of these interviews in this documentary were ones that they accumulated on their own. They reached out, they found professors, they found food historians, and they conducted the interviews themselves. And I'm just very, very proud of them and all of the hard work that they put into this.
We would like to thank Ms. Brown for making it possible for us to do this and taking the time out of her day to stay after with us. Are there any questions relating to our project?
Yeah, Dr.
I don't have a question. I just want to congratulate you on what a triumph this presentation is. I'm a Victorian in strike training, and I have been to many national level conferences with PhDs, and a lot of those presentations aren't as well done as this one. And I learned something today about Swill Mill, because I usually focus on the British side of things. So this was fantastic. Congratulations to all of you for this work.
I do have to say that was the most informative student presentation I've seen in my time on the board. I can't speak for others, but that was extremely impressive. Is there any other questions or comments that you have, Mike?
This is the only one that you've heard. It's also the only one I've heard. I don't know more than anybody. So I would say that's a nice presentation. Very well done, ladies.
Part of our agenda is we're going to fill some school board vacancies. So when a board vacancy happens, it's the remaining board member's job to fill the vacancy. So we're going to we'll start with the Tuffenborough candidate interview. So we'll have each candidate introduce themselves at the mic over there at the podium, give some brief statements as to why they want to be a board member. After each candidate kind of introduces themselves, I'll ask you both to kind of stand by the podium, and board members will ask you questions. And then once board members run out of questions to ask after a period of time, I'll ask for a motion from the board. And if the motion is seconded, the board will then deliberate publicly, who would be appointed to the board. So I'm going to just call based on how your letters are the packet, and I believe it's based on when you submitted them. So Kirsten Burke, you please just give a brief presentation and discuss why you want to be a board member, please. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm Kirsten Burke. I am a stay-at-home mom of 5 boys that are all in the school district. I have 2 at Tuffenborough Central School. I have 1 here at the middle school and then 2 at the high school. My oldest is about to graduate. I'm currently in school, going back to school for family services. And I volunteered to do this because I care about the community and I care about the kids and the schools and the teachers, and yeah, that's it.
Oh, thank you. I'll now call up Nancy Boyer, if you're here. Just introduce yourself, and Kirsten, I'll ask if you could just stay there, because after Nancy, board members will be able to ask you both some questions, so.
Hi, I'm Nancy Boyer. I've lived here in Tuftonboro for a little over 15 years. I'm a retired teacher from Madison Elementary, and so that's my interest basically is through the school and wanting to get somewhat involved in the community. I know a little bit about things, the workings of the school board just as a teacher.
Awesome, thank you, Nancy. Do board members have questions for both the candidates or for either of the candidates? Go ahead, Mary, ask the question.
First of all, thank you for stepping up and into the space, and your dedication to the school is evident. I guess my question to both of you is about the continuity of the board. This is filling space, right? And then there's the election that will come after. What are your visions for the future of your presence on the board?
You can, however you guys want to answer the question, whatever order.
I guess that I have wanted to be a member of the board, just so that I can help and give input. I think that this is really intimidating. I'm so sorry. I would potentially run. I thought that this would be a good way to like step into it and see if it's something that I would like to do. Considering at the school with the first grade, doing library with them, and I served on the PTCO in Tuftonboro, and then I am also serving on the football boosters as a treasurer. I've been doing that for the last 2 years, so I just thought that this would be a better way to get more involved.
The same that she said, I felt like this being a shorter term position, get in there and get some idea of how it works. But I will say, because she has children involved in the school, I think you'd be much better off with someone in her position that has the involvement in the town and in the school. I'm retired. I travel, and so I just think that this would definitely be more for the school, for the kids and the community.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing none, is there a motion? Donald John. The motion is to appoint either Nancy Boyer or Kirsten Burke to the Tuftonboro City Board. You have a question about it? Nope, no, still Q&A.
Okay. Nancy, are you withdrawing, or you were a former educator in the district, and so when I saw that, I think that brings a great deal of value to this board. So we have interest in both of you as candidates, and so I don't want you to shortchange your experience here in the community. And I know educators particularly can be, can put self last, and so it's not like a walk in the park doing this either. Like you may be saving person from the torture of being along here with us. So, I'm just saying, like, if you're formally withdrawing, please let us know that. But if you're still in the running, like, I think discussion could continue.
No, I guess I would withdraw.
Okay.
I would continue to see what other questions you have and
Okay.
do what I could.
Tell me what your favorite book is.
Well, right now I've gotten into Kristen Hanna books. So actually I'd probably say The Nightingale that she wrote is one of my favorites.
I don't have a favorite book. I'm an avid reader and I read all the time, so my favorite book is constantly changing. The Guernsey Literary Potato Field Society is probably one of my all-time favorite ones that I read.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
This question is for both of you. Are you aware of the time commitment being on board?
I am not fully aware of the time commitment, but all of my children are in school, so I am home all day by myself with my pets, and one of the reasons that I started going back to school was to fill some of that empty space, and I have a very supportive husband who is there to help out with the children when I'm not around.
Thank you very much.
No, I'm not aware of it, which was one of my big questions, because I didn't really know how often you met, or if you then belong to a different committee, how much they meet, and again, like I said, I'm retired, so I'd be gone.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
Would you like to address that question?
Yeah, we meet once a month, typically the first or second Monday of each month except for July. We kind of have a summer break, but we meet August through June. And there are committees that you would be assigned to. Each board members typically serves on 2 committees. 2 openings for our committees right now are the Finance Committee, which primarily meets in the month of November, or as needed when a financial issue and a recommendation to the board might come up. And the Buildings and Maintenance Committee, which tries to meet quarterly, or more if needed. So both are not heavy committee assignments, but they're very important committee assignments, like every committee assignment on the board. So, I'll say me personally as a board member, what varying amounts of effort are put in by every board member depending on what they're capable of doing with their personal and private lives. So you can put a lot into it. You can put, enough that's expected to be a participatory and productive board member. So, I know there's some of our board members where they probably spend 5 to 10 hours a week doing board activities. There are some who really devote a lot of time. But, I think usually allotting an hour, every few evenings is more than reasonable. Is there any other additional questions?
So that being said, so you're aware, the committees that we have on the board for tonight will be Finance, Human Resources, Community Relations, Buildings and Maintenance, and Academic. Right. So knowing that, do you have any particular interest in the board activities that you would be interested in participating with in a committee level?
I don't. I think that anywhere that you guys would put me, I would figure out how I can fit into that position.
Yeah, same. I don't really know what each of the different committees entails. So wherever they needed someone. I do think at this point I am going to retract mine, and I just think that the board would be better served because she's going to be more available to you. She's got kids in the school, which I think is important. So, there you go.
Okay, well, then,
I have a question.
go right ahead and ask a question, but I think it might be a board member either way.
I was just wondering on training, like, is there any sort of training that you guys do to get us familiar with?
There is, yes. We are, so there's an orientation for every new board member where they set up your email and you meet with administrators at the SAU office and they introduce you to key people who will answer your questions and work with you as a board member and explain the process, how the committees work, how the board structure works. We're also members of the New Hampshire School Boards Association, and they provide a plethora of free trainings that are archived. And one of the first things we'll do once you become a new board member is we'll make sure that the most recent recording of the new board member orientation is sent to you so you can watch it and be able to be oriented to that. And we'll also show you all the other resources the School Boards Association offers and other trainings that you can watch. And you'll get regular emails from them to watch trainings. Trainings range from an hour to 2 hours, depending on what's being covered. And we will also, we have on our agenda either on May 19th or May 26th, we will have a full board training. We get an annual full board training. We give everyone a brush up on several of the different laws that govern school districts and school boards and what our roles are as board members, our fiduciary responsibilities, policy-making responsibilities, how we should work with administrators and with each other, and several other key topics that help us be an effective governing body.
Great, thank you.
Well, I'll make the motion then. I'll motion that we have Kirsten Burke fill out, Kirsten Burke fill out the remainder of the Tufton Borough seats 10. Seconded by Dr. Beth. Is there any discussion? Okay, so just so you're aware, you're appointed for, well, after we vote, you'll be appointed to fill out until the next election cycle. Fingers crossed you'll consider running. That's a good experience, but Kathy, can you call the roll when you're ready, please?
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bertie?
Aye. After we do the Wolfeboro member, we'll swear you in and you'll officially be a board member.
Thank you.
And we'll participate. Yeah, thank you both. Next, we will do, well, first, we need to accept the resignation of Charlene Seid. So, can someone make a motion to accept Charlene Seid's resignation?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Jim, seconded by Dr. Beth. I don't think there's any discussion. So, Kathy, you can call the roll once you're ready, please.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Bertie?
Aye. So the Wolfeboro seat is now vacant, and we had 3 applicants. So I'm gonna call up each person, introduce themselves, and ask you to stand there and introduce yourself. Who applied for the Wolfeboro seat, and then after you all kind of introduce yourselves and explain why you want to be a member of the board, we'll ask you questions just as you saw the Tufton Borough candidates did. So first is Kayla Hewitt.
Hi, I'm Kayla Hewitt. I decided to submit my letter of intent for similar reasons as Kirsten, and that I'm really devoted to my children's education. So I've been coming to these meetings for a couple years now because of that. So I've been personally prioritizing these meetings for that reason. I'm a Kingswood grad, class of 06. My class was the first class to go through Crescent Lake right after it was built. So 4th, 5th, and 6th all the way through. And I've got 4 kiddos in the district. Well, 3 now. My kindergartner will start. My 5-year-old will start in kindergarten in the fall. I'm active on the PTOs at Carpenter, Crescent Lake, and background check volunteers. So I help out whenever possible because also with the kids, it's important for me personally to get up for them in all the ways that I can. I have the privilege to be able to have that kind of time where I can do this. So as a background check volunteer, I've been in the schools anyway quite a bit. We do book fairs, we do winter sports, chaperoning, the unicycle team, and all sorts of fun things with the kids. So it was really the start of, during COVID, my sister was a remote teacher for first grade, and my oldest at the time was in first grade. We signed her up for remote learning. And that year I watched with a new perspective what my sister was doing, the resilience she had, the resilience my child and her peers had. And at that moment I thought, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to be here and support the education of my children, but also our educators and our school district.
Thank you. Next we have Steve Johnson.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Steve Johnson. I'm a Wolfeboro resident for the past 50 years. Started correcting third grade student papers when my wife was a third grade teacher in Harvard School before we got married. So I experienced a lot of teacher work from that point on. Gail was a teacher at Carpenter for many years. She's a specialist with our little daughter Kristen, who had Down syndrome. She went back to UNH for a master's in education, special education. She's a reading and recovery specialist. So the only reason I tell you that is because of the education connection. We've been dealing with education our whole lives. Two of our daughters, both were teachers, one in Brooklyn, New York, the Teach New York program, where they taught for 2 years in inner city schools to help pay for graduate school after that. As far as me, I've been on the Wolfeboro Budget Committee, been on the Wolfeboro Planning Board. I think it's years ago I read an article in the Wall Street Journal that said, if you want to make a difference in your town, don't do it nationally, do it locally. So from that being 20 years ago, I started to get involved and just ask questions. You know, the biggest thing about how things run is if you don't understand, ask the questions. If you think that it's going to function better, ask the question about the process. For me currently, I'm retired. I had years ago an award and a Bay Street discount. So I understand how to read spreadsheets. I think with the budget, it just didn't fail. Didn't pass, I'm sorry. It failed this time around. Maybe I can add a critical eye to that and help to make the numbers work next time around. I've got the time, I've got the interest, and honestly, either one of us can do a good job for it.
Thank you, Steve. We do have one more person. Chip Scally.
Why you're smiling?
What?
Why you're smiling?
This got to be a real one too.
Chip Skelly, resident of Wolfeboro. Grew up here in Wolfeboro. Went to all levels of school here. My kids went to school here. My whole adult life been involved with the school. Taught for 7 years back in the 80s. This was not here. Although I was on the committee to build this, and I do apologize for the fact that it's not double the size, because that's really what we wanted, was double the size of the gym, but it didn't happen. My last 42 years, 28 of them were involved with coaching football here at Kingswood. 42 were baseball. Just retired from coaching. I was up watching the unfortunate game today at McKenna. It's been a year and a half now, so I've been talking about doing something different from I guess the second stage of life, now that I'm retired from coaching and retired from work. I kind of look at the school board very similar to the way that I ran my businesses, as Stevie would know. I didn't necessarily make the ice cream cone, put the ice cream cone out there, because it looked kind of funky, but I did all the work behind the scenes to make sure that you know, my employees had what they needed to make a good customer experience. And I think that's what you folks do. I don't know, although probably Mary could, but would actually be out there actually doing the teaching, but you certainly take care of our kids. And I think that my experience out here on the athletic fields and my experience with jobs that I've had, I think when I think about second stage, certainly really excited about being an opportunity to join the folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for any of the candidates? Yes, Mary.
Again, thank you. This is hard. I appreciate you all stepping up and read your intent. I think it's fair to ask you the same question. I appreciate that this is filling in space until then it becomes an election. Do you have an intent beyond this period of time?
Yes, I would love to continue to do this. And also let me just say, great group here. So I'm just happy to be part of this group. But yes, I would.
Chipper, Steve.
Sorry, I hear the question. The question is, would I continue after that? Yeah, I probably would. Education is the most important part of a child's experience. To make it the best that we possibly can is at the top of the list. So yeah, I would. We still have our middle child, Kristen, living in the community, and she, because of her Down syndrome, and the other thing I forgot to tell you is she actually was one of the first mainstream students in the Wentworth School District and graduated from Kingswood. I lost my train of thought. Well, they say we have a rich history, and yeah, I would like to work with kids.
Since they both have talked about the group, I did graduate from Kingswood with Phil's dad, who's a good friend of mine in high school. And I'm pretty sure my mother always told me that Steve used to babysit for me.
That's right.
That's also a fast change. And I absolutely, as far as what would happen in a year, as I, over the past couple of years, thought about doing this, and my excuses have now been taken away, I definitely would look forward to it.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Dr.
Well, I'll make it easy on us, thanks. So we have a wonderful district here, and dedicated educators, strong administrators, a board that really cares about the students in our schools and the community. However, when you are on the board, you have the opportunity to bring vision, right? So if you could change something or implement something in the district, if you could rejoin the board, what would that be for you?
One of the things I've been made aware of as a parent and somebody within the schools is, and I know that we have committees working on communication, but I think sort of just the accessibility and communication, continue that work. I kind of joke that when some of the meetings that I've been to in the last couple of years are really boring, right? But I still really enjoy them because, and side note, you mentioned committees. I would actually be interested in academic affairs. I'd like to learn those things. So I kind of joke that I would honestly like to go back to boring meetings in that, meaning we're working cohesively as needed, we're cooperating, we're communicating well, we're communicating with the district, the stakeholders, in productive ways. That's what I say.
For Steve?
I'm not too sure if this would be changing something that you do or that the district does, but I would think that, and maybe you folks do this right now, I would think that it would be very important to have board members visit schools, spend a lot of time in the schools. I know that when I was coaching here, I always looked forward to, well, I go back to many different superintendents, but certainly Jack was one of the ones that I certainly loved having come. It was always nice to see my administrative group out there supporting, and I would think that that would be a lot easier for me, being that I'm retired now. I would certainly look forward to making visits. I know Mary has made visits and so forth. So it'd be one of the things that I would try to maybe talk a little bit about.
Could you ask that question one more time?
We have a great district, blah, blah, blah. However, when you're on the board, you have an opportunity to bring vision, and if you could change or influence something as part of this board, what would that be?
I think the change would be I think for me, what I would do if I were looking at it is I would want to talk to the teachers individually. I don't know if that happens now or not. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I think it would be a great idea for me to talk with department heads, teachers individually, just to get an idea of what their vision is and what their understanding of the process is. Coming from a number of different businesses, and being a business owner myself, and actually working for a large company, I think process and understanding that process is very important. And if the process is working and everyone understands it, you're much better off for it. If the process isn't clear or people don't understand it, that's where breakdowns can happen. And so, for me, I'd like to make sure that the process is clear and understandable and worked at on a constant basis, and for me individually to talk with, as I said, teachers and departments, just to make sure that they're getting feedback from those that are in the line, so to speak.
No questions? My question is, could you each describe your understanding of goal, authority, and state law that school board members have in governing a school district? Just a general idea, as I've done any reading or research on such.
So my understanding of how a board works is that the board essentially creates a goal, the vision, sets the policy, and it's up to the superintendent and administrators to implement. So it's kind of like we're steering a ship, but we're not in the day-to-day workings of what's going on. Does that answer your question? Is that your question?
Just want to get a general idea of how you guys view board member responsibilities. I mean, we could really get into the grain, but I want to just know your depth of knowledge each of you.
Sure. So that's the general, but then also individual board members, the committees that you're part of, that you serve on. And I have observed too, there's certain things that are within your purview and certain things that are not. So it's also really important to say, if somebody comes with an issue and say, okay, here's the resources of how to get this addressed. So it would be a board member's maybe responsibility to say, here's the contact, and here's how you do this, and here's what the policy is about this to get your questions answered.
I think Kayla put it pretty well. I think I would reiterate what she has just said. And I think for me, it would be quite an education. And I would certainly look forward to that education. So when we talked about some of the materials that are out there, that was kind of one of the things that had always kind of held me back. Just trying to understand how this whole process works. But again, I've taken away a lot of my life, so I think I would have some time to learn and look forward to that learning.
Two very good explanations of the process of the school board, and I guess my thing would be I'd ask a lot of questions, because I think there's a learning curve here. I think you're going to jump right into it and do a good job to be effective at it is kind of faulty thinking. And so if you were to decide for me or any of us, hopefully we'd all ask you a lot of questions and pass through your lives.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? I don't see any, so there's a motion that we put on the floor for discussion. Yeah, so someone to be nominated.
I nominate Katie here to take the position.
Is there a second? Mary seconds. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion? But discussion, comment?
I'm truly humbled by the response from you all and those from Wolfeboro to step up. I've only been on the board for a couple of years, and I, as an educator, have always admired the school board for the tough, difficult work and the work of the school board even prior to my presence through COVID, and as you mentioned, Kayla, and your integrity and care to this community. It's given me chills, and this is a difficult decision. And I know that your presence in this community years prior and years to come. So thank you for your time, and don't be a stranger. We need you. Appreciate it.
Any other discussion or comments? I think the only comment I have is that I consider you both, all three of you, to be good friends. So I'm really impressed with the fact that we have people with your kind of stature in our communities who have families that have dedicated a lot to our school district, that you're willing to be involved. I would encourage you all, each year there's that large seat that opens, and in March there will still be an opening to the Wolfeboro seat. So always feel free to run, to get involved. And even if it's not on the board, you all know there are several ways to get involved in our school district. So I really appreciate you guys throwing your hat in. I mean, usually we have to beg people to fill a vacancy. So the fact that this many people are interested is great. So I appreciate it. You have a comment, Dr. Jim?
My comment is all three of you. You've been in this board for a while. That's the toughest decision I've had to make, including COVID closure. This is a tough spot. I don't know. I have friends on both sides of this issue. Two people I really know well. One I don't know well, sorry, but he still strikes me as well qualified. This is a hell of a thing to talk about. I'm really puzzled as to where I should go.
Any other discussion?
I had the benefit of only living in the area for 5 years, so I don't know you guys very well, but I do really respect and appreciate you making the effort to do this. But I will say at Kayla, you really get it, and you show up. So that to me is what spoke to me tonight. So I think that's why I nominated her for this position, because I think she really understands the role. And I think we need someone who is a convener and someone who cares about synergy in this body. That's what we need right now.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Kathy, could you call the roll, please? Aye. That concludes. Thank you all. So congratulations to Kaylee Hewitt and Thurston Burke. Next we have the oaths of office. So Michelle, the school board clerk, will first swear in Thurston Burke, and then after you would swear in Kaylee Hewitt. Yeah, we're going to join us.
Stand.
So you guys want to come up here or stay there? It doesn't matter to me.
It's up to you.
We'll do it right here, we're fine.
You want a mic? Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on you as a school board member for the Governor Wentworth Regional School District according to the best of your abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I, Kirsten B. Burke, do solemnly swear or replace with affirm that I will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire, and will support the constitutions thereof. So help me God. Or replace with this, I do understand the pains and penalties of perjury. I, Kirsten B. Burke, do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge or perform all the duties incumbent to me as a school board member, Tufton Borough, according to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God. Or replace.
Congratulations. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on you as a school board member for the Governor Wentworth Regional School District according to the best of your abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help you God, or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do solemnly swear that I will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire, and will support the constitutions thereof, so help me God. I, Kayla Hewitt, do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as school board member for Wolfeboro, according to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
So you're both board members, so you can join us at the board. It starts now, and sometimes it never ends. That's Dr. Jim. Except it was South California. So now, first, congratulations to both of you on joining the board. And again, I want to thank all the other candidates who put their hat in the ring. And again, limited democracy, there are competitive elections this upcoming March, so feel free to get involved. I'm going to ask the superintendent to read our board member ethics, and I have a form that both the two board members will sign after the superintendent reads the board member ethics, so you understand what you're signing and affirming and agreeing to as a new board member. So, here you go.
Congratulations, Kayla and Kirsten. School board member ethics, this is policy BCA. Each member of the Governor Wentworth Regional School Board shall comply with the following ethical provisions. 1, attend all regularly scheduled board meetings insofar as possible and become informed concerning issues to be considered at those meetings. 2, understand that the board as a governing body does not manage the district, but rather sets the broad goals and standards for the district by way of policies adopted by a quorum of the board at proper meetings under the right to know law. 3, be informed about current educational issues by individual study and through information, such as those sponsored by state and national school board associations. 4, make decisions and take votes based upon the available facts, the full deliberation of the board, using independent judgment, and refusing to surrender or subordinate that judgment to any individual or special interest groups. 5, work respectfully with other board members by encouraging the free expression of differing opinions and ideas. 6, seek opportunities for the board to establish systematic communication channels with students, staff, and members of the community. 7, recognize that as a general principle, the district and the students benefit when board decisions, which have been made following consideration of all sides and vote of a quorum, receive the subsequent support of the whole board wherever practicable. 8, respect the confidentiality of information that is privileged under applicable law or is received in confidence or non-public session. 9, recognize that individual board members are without authority to act relative to school district business, and that members may not individually commit the board to any action, except as specifically designated to do so by board action. 10, understand the chain of command and refer problems or complaints to the proper administrative office per applicable school board policies. 11, work with the other board members to establish effective board policies and foster a relationship with the district administration toward the effective implementation of those policies and management of the district operations, personnel, and facilities. 12, communicate to the superintendent and to the board only as consistent with the right to know law, expressions of public reaction to board programs, policies, and other board actions. 13, present personal criticisms concerning district operations, staff, etc. to the superintendent, not to district staff, the public, or unnecessarily at a board meeting. And 14, establish policies and protocols for systematic communications with students, staff, and members of the community. Support the employment of those persons best qualified to serve as school staff, and insist on a regular and impartial evaluation of all staff.
I'm going to pass this down to my folder so you can write on it and sign the date, please, if you will. And we'll move on to the next portion of our agenda, which is agenda review. I have no additional items. Anybody have any additional items? Seeing none, we will go to the acceptance of minutes. First, we have the April 7th, 2025 school board meeting. Minutes, is there a motion or any edits that folks have? I do have one edit. I'll state my notes. My one edit is on page 8. Specifically, it says motion to approve the superintendent's renomination of the SAU administrative team as presented. That motion also included it was the SAU administrative team and superintendent. So I just want to make that correction. That motion was the board approving the renomination of the SAU administrative team and the superintendent. Is there any other edits? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as edited, or with my edit?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved by Dr. Jim, seconded by Mary. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Matt, call the roll, please.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Abstain. Kristen? Tom?
Aye. So the motion passes 6-0 to abstaining. Next, we have our manifest. Tonight, the manifest is going to be signed by Tom Bickford, Daniel Van Dusen, well, she's absent. So Tom Bickford, Mary Shora, and Jim Manning. The manifest total for tonight is $4,689,072.59. Is there a motion to accept the manifest as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Jim. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Beck. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, if we could call the roll. Kathy, once you're ready.
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Abstain. Kirsten? Abstain. Yes.
If you want to say yes, you can. If you don't feel
Okay. Yeah. Tom?
Yes.
Brody?
I guess just the manifest is just approving all of our accounts ending that we need to pay for. So it's pretty just not mandatory. Well, it's mandatory to a certain extent, but it's formality. We have that oversight power as a board. Next is public input. So public input is 15 minutes, 3 minutes for each individual, unless extended by vote of the board. Public input is an opportunity to provide input, board on operations or how we feel about the district and governance, and ask to cross chatter amongst the crowd to each other and to direct your comments onto the board. Please don't swear.
Guy Pike, former board member from Tuftonboro. Thank you, Kristen. Here at the middle school, our principal, Mrs. Hyde, has done a Herculean job to try to provide the kind of atmosphere that the kids need, as I saw alluded to earlier. Despite her efforts, racism and bullying are still prevalent here. I don't really feel the need to mention names like or
Please don't discuss students.
All right. We have what's known as verbs. Now, despite the fact that that was denied last year emphatically by the chairman and the superintendent, I also have those names. These have all been vetted and verified through teachers and parents. These kids dress as animals and they act like animals in school. Now, our principal is working her butt off to make this place what it should be. I would ask you folks to please don't lose sight of the final goal. We're getting really close. Give her the support she needs, find her the help she needs, but please please don't lose sight of this goal. And Dr. Beth, my favorite book is The 12. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Is there any additional public input?
My name is John Sheckler. I'm from New Durham. Before I begin, I need to inform the public that I am the husband of Dr. Elizabeth Sheckler, and that I'm here on my own accord, and the words I am about to say are mine and no one else's. I'm here today to clear up any misinformation or misconceptions people may have about Dr. Beth's qualifications or her character. Because while I may be admittedly biased, I believe that she is the most qualified community member to serve on our school board. Dr. Beth is a mother of children in our school districts. Our son has been attending New Durham School since kindergarten and is now in the 4th grade. We just registered our daughter to attend kindergarten in the fall. We know firsthand that parents in our community are most invested in how our schools operate. Dr. Beth is an educator. She holds a bachelor's degree in education from the University of Farmington, as well as a master's degree in English from UNH. When we lived in Maryland, she worked for 3 years as an administrative assistant at a school for special needs, and she taught classes at the University of Baltimore. 12 years ago, we moved to New Hampshire so she could pursue her doctorate. During that time, she taught some classes at UNH, as well as raised our son while I worked to help keep us afloat. Dr. Beth is a volunteer. Once a week, she goes to New Durham School to spend her time at a reading group for children who are not her own. She's the secretary for New Durham's PTO, and she likes to bake peas whenever there's a staff or teacher appreciation day. She and I work together to help chaperone, fundraise, coach, etc. She is committee treasurer and fundraising chair for a local Cub Scout pack, which serves dozens of youth from all over our school district, including Middleton and Wakefield. Dr. Beth is a leader. She served on 2 boards for 2 different nonprofit groups before deciding to focus her time on our school district. She's on the software committee for the Association for University Technology Managers and hosted a panel for their conference in DC this March. She was recently promoted to Senior Business Development Manager at NYU Langone because she is also a successful businesswoman. She assists with training programs for other Scout leaders from all over New Hampshire. She received the Golden Doe Award, which recognizes strong female leadership in our state. Last year, we attended Scouting's premier leadership program, and we learned a whole bunch of leadership philosophies and skills that Fortune 500 companies learn. She understands that a team needs to work together, not against each other, or they will struggle to perform. She practices servant leadership and leads by example. Dr. Beth is a good person. She is here because school board members, past and present, asked her to run, and district staff and community members encouraged her. She's here because she cares about her teachers, staff, parents, and children, including the whole homeschool community. Dr. Beth is a dedicated mother, educator, volunteer, leader, and a good person. As a voter, a taxpayer, and a parent, I look forward to the spirit of unity and collaboration she will bring to board leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public input? Seeing none, we will move to our student representative report. Jack? Hello. Here, I'll give you a number. Seeing none.
Good evening, everyone. As you can tell by my attire, I just got that baseball game a little bit ago, and as Chip said, we didn't win. It was a rough one, but besides that, baseball's good.
You have to hold it pretty close.
All right. The baseball team is doing very good this year. We have a record of 5-2, and we are slated to have our senior night against Kent at home on May 23rd, where we look to get some revenge. The softball team just battled Kent tonight as well, and they won. They won 11-7, and they now have a record of 6-1, and their senior night will be on the same night against Kent on the 23rd. The track and field team already had their senior night last week, and they are slated to have their state meet at Sanborn Regional High School on May 31st. The boys lacrosse team is currently 2-3 after they just beat South Keegan 8-3 just maybe an hour ago. Their senior night will be on the 27th against Albert. The girls lacrosse team has a record of 2-4, and sadly they lost to Kent 17-3 today. Their senior night will be against Keene on May 30th. The boys' tennis team is scheduled to have their senior night on May 21st, and I was told the AP Bio test might get the senior night moved, because there's a lot of kids at AP Bio on the team, I guess. And the girls' tennis team will have their senior night on May 16th. The Kingston Theater program returned from the NHETG State Theater Festival as champions, as they completed a sweep of all major awards at the festival. Just this past weekend, they performed at the New England Drama Festival, which was hosted here at the Kingswood Arts Center. Congratulations to the theater program and another successful year. Student Council has been working around the clock to try and plan and prepare for all the upcoming events in the school. The junior-senior prom will be held at Gunstock Mountain Resort on May 17th, and on the May 23rd, we will have a field day. And the days leading up to field day, there are also dress-up days throughout the schools, so there's a lot of fun stuff to look forward to. We've also been preparing for a bunch of senior events, such as senior banquet, graduation, and a bunch of other fun activities for seniors to enjoy in their final month of high school. DECA just came back from the ICEC, which was hosted in Orlando, Florida this year, and they soaked up the sun and competed in their respective events over the course of a few days. I was told from Ms. Cameron, the club leader, that it was a blast and they enjoyed every second of it. Both the Spanish and French departments took trips over break. The Spanish department headed to Puerto Rico and stayed with host families. A couple of my best friends were there and they had an absolute blast. And the French department was in France, and they had a week of sightseeing and a whole lot of adventures. And a couple of my buddies were there and they also had a great time with their unique experiences. On behalf of the student body, I would like to thank the school board and its members for allowing a voice from inside the school to speak on this prestigious board. I also want to throw out there that it's Teacher Appreciation Week, so if you see a teacher that you know, give them a pat on the back. So, have a great night, everyone.
Next is the superintendent's report. First, we'll start with superintendent district update.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have a few updates to share from my superintendent report. And I want to make sure that I extend gratitude to our generous community, so this might take a moment. So as we previously shared, our district is currently facing a district-wide budget freeze, which has required us to halt all discretionary spending, anything not contractually or legally mandated. This situation has posed challenges across our schools. In response, however, our community has come together in remarkable ways. Parents, families, local businesses, and community members have stepped up by contributing classroom supplies, donating to field trips that would not have otherwise occurred, reducing contract service rates, and volunteering hours to ensure that valued traditions like the Gold Scholar Luncheon continue. Our support staff, teachers, principals, coaches, and parents, community members are collaborating closely to maintain our school grounds and programs, and the outpouring of generosity has been deeply inspiring. We'd like to recognize and thank the many donors who have supported our, in particular, baseball and softball teams this season. I shared a letter from our athletic director before a break, and he included this list of all of the community organizations who have contributed. And we're adding to this list all the time. Bonfire LLC, Eldridge and Gillespie LLC, Lakes Region Ridgeline Builders, Hancock Lumber, Doran Insurance, Carrie Lee McCarthy, Foresight Plumbing and Heating, Hewitt's Homestead Services, the Sant Family, Farmhouse Landscaping, Paxton Pigtails, Sharon Berry, Styles by Tara, Jade Eldridge, Sarah Kelly Ford, Josh Merrow, the Blair family, Alyssa Noyes, the Sullivan family, the Favorite family, the Lyons family, Melissa Williams, Granite State Piping, DJ Septic, the Lively Lemon, Herb Towing, and the Back Bay Boathouse. As I said, this is just a list from a week ago, and I'm sure there are additional names by now, but I wanted to make sure I extend that gratitude to our generous community while we're facing this budget freeze. Next update, our food service update. We will be implementing a meal debt donation feature in our online platform called Mosaic. We're going to activate that effective tomorrow. We'll communicate this to all families as of tomorrow. We're grateful for the community's support of the recent warrant article to expand eligibility for free meals. Building on this momentum, we're creating this new strategy for kind of a pay-it-forward initiative. So at the end of each school year, all funds collected through this donation feature will be evenly distributed across all accounts that carry over $30 in debt. We will continue to maintain our standards for pursuing meal debt in accordance with our policy. However, this feature provides a compassionate option for those who wish to help. Totally optional. Families can add a donation when they're paying off their own meal bills if they wish. We'll reassess the program midway through the school year and determine if we allocate funds midway. But at this time, we are definitely planning to do this annually, and we're excited that the benefits that other districts have experienced with activating this feature that they have in their meal service debt programs. More information to come. As Jack said, I'd like to express appreciation for all of our teachers and staff. This is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, May 5th through 9th. We have incredible dedication, talent, and heart of all of our educators and staff they bring to our district every single day. Whether in classrooms, offices, buses, kitchens, or hallways, you all play a vital role in shaping the lives of our students and supporting our school communities. So on behalf of the school board and our whole team, your work is appreciated, does not go unnoticed. Thank you. As far as the administrative team, I did share this in a newsletter. I want to make sure I address this in person at our school board meeting to announce administrative team additions. The school board unanimously supported Danielle Harvey to be the next director of curriculum. Danielle brings extensive experience in instructional leadership and curriculum, collaborative, equity-driven approach. She will be filling Dr. Katie Hill's shoes next year as Katie moves into assistant superintendent position. Brittany McGuire will step into the role of principal at Crescent Lake School effective July 1, current CLS fourth grade teacher with 16 years of experience. She's already a trusted leader within the school community and was also unanimously recommended for compassion, insight, and instructional leadership. Finally, as part of Middleton announcements, Middleton School District, however, the Middleton Elementary School principal is part of our team, and as we know, those students become Kingswood Knights. I'm happy to announce Ivy Leavitt Carlson, who will join us as the principal of Middleton Elementary. She brings a background of both teaching and administration, coming from the Paul School in Wakefield. She brings passion, experience, and a strong student-first mindset. So we're very excited about all of those updates. Next month, I will be bringing you a draft communication plan that our parent advisory group has been working on for the past 5 months. And that concludes my district report. If there are any questions.
Any questions from board members? Seeing none, we'll move on to general assurances. We have a bit of a legal proposal that the superintendent of us update us on. We also received an email from the New Hampshire School Boards Association providing some very timely guidance because we were dealing with this matter tonight. So I'll turn it back over to Dr. Kelly to address it.
Yes, thank you. I was pleased that the New Hampshire School Board Association emailed us at 4:05 p.m. this afternoon. I did not ask for that. It just happened. It was a favor from the universe. But I was already, superintendents were already informed from the School Board Association, all jokes aside, that we should be advising school boards to hold off on signing general assurances. So the general assurances are a document that annually school boards are required to sign as superintendents in order to upload to our grant management system to have permission to have all of our grant applications each year. So these grants are Title I, Title II, Title IV, IDEA for special education, and other grants, other smaller grants that we have in the system. However, when the general assurances were first written, that was before a court case in the state, and since then, some things have changed. Therefore, the School Board Association is recommending that boards hold off on signing until later in the month. Specifically, the ACLU, the Teachers Association, filed this lawsuit against the department, which threatened federal funding cuts for educational institutions engaging in diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. The plaintiffs argued that the directive imposed vague legal restrictions that violate due process and the First Amendment, limit academic freedom, and unlawfully dictate curriculum and educational programs. So the federal judge granted a preliminary injunction blocking the enforcement of this directive. So now we're kind of in limbo until the state edits the general assurances. So the School Board Association is recommending boards wait until the end of May. I believe they said at least between May 19th and May 31st in anticipation of an edited version. So tonight I would recommend, in light of the pending revisions and legal implications, that the board, you can take action, you can make a motion to make a decision later in the month.
We have a motion. I know one of our, we can postpone to a later time. Should we just postpone to our, whenever we decide our NHSBA training will be? That's kind of what I'm thinking. We'll have a training on the 19th or the 26th, so that'll be posted as a meeting and open to the public. So we might want to start that meeting with, dealing with what the current fluxes of these general assurances and what the current draft would be that we're expected to agree to for federal funds.
So do we need to make a motion to do that?
Yes, the motion would be to postpone the vote on the general assurances until our board NHSB training.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Dr. Beth. That is a debatable motion, I just want to make sure that was the case. So if there's any discussion, but the motion is to postpone voting on our general assurances until we do our NHSBA training, which will be either May 19th or May 26th. Hearing no discussion, Kathy, can you call the roll as you're ready, please?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr.
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Kayla?
Yes.
Kirsten?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Ruby?
Aye. So the motion passes 8-0. And we'll move on to the Lakes Region School Consortium Agreement. Let the superintendent have the floor.
Thank you. This agenda item, as well as the next agenda item, are our Lakes Region Superintendent agreements. for the board's consideration. They come out of the Lakes Region superintendent group. So we meet monthly. Each region in the state of New Hampshire has a superintendent group that meets. And the first one is about a high school consortium agreement. The second one pertains to special education. So the first one, the high school consortium agreement, is provided in your packets. This is about course sharing at high schools. So Course Sharing Association of Regional High Schools who seek to work together to develop innovative and diverse course offerings to challenge high school students in an evolving academic landscape. So high schools within the consortium, and there are 13 high schools who are invited to participate in this consortium. I can read the list if the board would like. All of the superintendents from this list are bringing this agreement to their boards. The purpose is for students to have access to more diverse course offerings, allowing high school students in the Lakes region to choose courses which match areas of interest, specialization, or career goals at no cost. It's a way for districts to offer choice among our region on our terms. It is a lengthy agreement, so I am happy to discuss or take any questions. The motion tonight would be to authorize the superintendent to enter into this agreement.
Is there any questions? Go ahead.
Yes, so I have some questions about are our students going to be affected by, I know there was something here and I can't find it, sorry, but something here about the class sizes, like, I don't want our students to get pushed out or have like 20 or 5 or 6 more kids because kids in other districts decide they want to come take one of our classes. It's my biggest concern.
Absolutely, excellent question. So it is completely at the discretion of the receiving district. So we can decide, this district can decide, well, based on our policies, based on our class sizes, based on the needs, we are, we determine how many students to accept into any given class.
So is that, it can be a class by class thing, it's not going to be a standard?
Absolutely.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah, Dr. Bell.
I just want to highlight for my colleagues that transportation related to this agreement is not a burden on our district. It would be the responsibility of the student or their parents and guardians, so that's not a hidden cost related to this.
Thank you. My question has to do with discipline, because I can imagine when, and I do understand where it's mentioned student discipline, that students would be expected to abide by the policies of the school that's receiving them, and the school district policies of that, the school where the student is attending courses. But I'm wondering, what would the process be for whether it was for bullying that meets the statutory definition, or for other cases where a student or their family might appeal to the board? Would that student, if there's an event that happened, let's say one of our schools, and their originating district, it didn't happen at the originating district, would we be the board that would hear those appeals? I agree.
Yes, the receiving and sending districts would work collaboratively, but the receiving district and the consortium would be handling discipline matters. And would be the investigation, for example, on a bullying issue, that would be done. Let's say the student is here, we can identify our.
I think it'd be important for parents who are sending their students, for our parents sending our students to other schools, and for for them to know that they're not going to our SNU office if they have some kind of concern with how discipline was handled by the school where their child was, so that they would be dealing with a whole other SAU and maybe administrative staff they're less familiar with. Is there any other comments or questions? Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
First of all, this is quite brilliant and dynamic in the sense that it's reflective to the needs of the students at the time, so it's not this rigid warehouse kind of approach to things. Could you elaborate on the special education services? So for special education, that is addressed on the second page, it is the sole responsibility of the sending district. So if there's a student who was coming here and they needed a paraprofessional, or if they needed any other service, it's 100% the responsibility of the sending district. We would have to accommodate the student. So if a student had a 504 plan where they needed special accommodations, then we would have to provide accommodations to allow access for that student, but that's true for our students as well.
I know this is preliminary, so has there been any discussion about guidance, class scheduling, logistics related to how this would work, since many of the schools are geographically far apart?
Very preliminary discussions on that, because absolutely, there are no two schedules alike in this list. So certainly a student would have to give up some time during the school day to transport to, travel to that other high school. So not as of yet. Not as of yet. What I think some benefits of this plan are that if you see the term, any district may withdraw from the consortium at any time, provided written notice of such withdrawal by May 1st. That's an important piece. The consortium committee, so the advisory committee must be made up of the superintendents of the member school districts. So I would have an eye on the logistics and how the plan was working during this term. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to mention, yes, transportation is solely at the responsibility of the parents. And our students could also go to any of the other schools that were part of the consortium. And the Lakes Region Tech Center coursework, that's not part of this implement, right? Okay.
Superintendent said it's not. Okay. My question is, so could someone who has a student at one of our, someone who has a student at Kingswood Regional High School, could they theoretically have their child take all courses at Wolfeboro Academy, or is it, I'm trying to understand. So they must still be enrolled in our school at least 51% of the time. Okay. So they have to take at least half their courses at Kingswood, but they can theoretically take half their courses at any other school. And that's true of all the other member schools. Yeah. It's kind of like open enrollment. It's like a hybrid version of it.
So as far as open enrollment is concerned, open enrollment is not currently approved statewide in the legislature. But to be an open enrollment school, you are receiving students from other districts, and the sending district is paying 80% of the per pupil cost. There is a push at the state level for open enrollment to be statewide. where all districts would be forced to be part of that. And so that's where this is coming from. But superintendents are designing our own way for students to have choice at other high schools. So it's not grade, it's not grades grade 8 and under, but it is offering some level of additional choice for students in high school.
My question then is in regards to school funding. So obviously they measure our state grants based on enrollment that's tied to ADMR, average daily membership. Does having only like a student attending our high school 51% of the time, does that impact the amount of state aid that we get per pupil? You don't believe so? Okay, because that would be my only, because that's one of the big concerns with open enrollment is all of a sudden schools that, I get concerned because you could have a good sizable population in our school district that could live closer to Wolfeboro Academy, and some of those parents have to believe that maybe they could get a better, I disagree, I think you look better than Wolfeboro Academy, but they may believe that. And my concern would be then we would lose state aid, and that would create funding issues and further shift the burden to our local property taxpayers. Okay.
For core curriculum, so required coursework, would that be eligible for sort of campus swapping? I'm worried about standardized testing, these kinds of things. Yes, that was the essence of the agreement, were classes that aren't necessarily offered in your high school. Because it would take effort to go all the way to another high school for a class. So the spirit of this was really about classes that aren't necessarily offered in your high school. So.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
So I know it's really early in the process, but do you have a feeling of like what percentage of students would utilize this program?
I don't think we will have many students utilizing this program because, just geographically alone, our towns are surrounding our high school. So as far as kids coming in. That said, we do have districts coming in for LRTC, and they may want to take another class here while they're already here. That would be very beneficial to them. So that has happened in the past, where those districts are asking us, the student's already there, can they, take on another class for a fee, or, come later, stay later, that kind of thing. So possibly with our sending districts for LRTC that we already have. But as far as our students going to other schools, I don't think we will have many students going to other schools. That's just my sense.
Is there any other questions or motion? You have a question? So what was your motion that you wanted?
The motion would be to authorize the superintendent to enter the Lakes Region High School Consortium Agreement.
Moved by Dr. Beth, is there a second? Seconded by Mary Schibert. My only comment is as long as it doesn't impact our current state funding, as long as, I think that's
There's a plan for monitoring success and understanding metrics around how many are sending and how many are receiving.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, so as long as it's not a negative impact to our ability to access education funding from the state, then I think this seems like a more than reasonable plan to allow parents choice. But I just don't want there to be a burden to shift onto our property taxpayers, which is something we're happening. So, is there any other comments? Hearing none, I can't call the roll. Is there any, please?
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Dee?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Bertie?
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to the Lakes Region Special Education Consortium Memorandum of Understanding. I'll let the superintendent.
Thank you. So this is also a Lakes Region consortium. This, however, is for intensive special education needs and contracted related services. So the spirit here is to create a consortium so that the superintendents of the Lakes Region can work together to increase and improve special education services in the Lakes Region area. And in two specific ways. One would be to essentially build a school, and secondly would be to increase contracted services, access to contracted services in this area. So participating school districts in the Lakes Region Consortium, let's see, developing a collaborative approach to providing high-quality, individualized education and services. The districts will work together to explore more efficient and cost-effective approaches to providing contracted related services with the goal of improving service delivery and maximizing resources across districts. So the purpose is to foster meaningful learning experiences and family support, creation of a specialized school. We will explore the development of specialized schools for preschool through grade 8 students. The number of spots for students needing out-of-district placements are very few and far between. We will also explore the centralization of contracted related services. This is something that exists at the Seacoast. I'm very familiar with this model. I serve on a board for Stratford Learning Center on behalf of Middleton, where contracted services are a hub in one organization, and they are deployed to districts across the Seacoast. We don't have that in the Lakes region. You'll see there's no financial commitments at this time. It's an exploration phase. It's a way for superintendents to work together. So this will be another advisory board I'll serve on. The agreement will remain in effect for 1 year and it's not binding. Happy to take any questions.
Question, sorry, it's yeah, go ahead, Mary.
This intrigued me greatly, as it similarly to the previous, it's access and opportunity and utilizing the strengths, have staffing and that sort of thing. At the Seacoast, where might I find, look at it, observe it?
You could look at the Stratford Learning Center, Stratford Learning Collaborative website. I can send that to you. There is no other consortium that exists to this extent in the state of superintendents to work together on special education, both contracted services and increasing out-of-district placements.
My follow-up then would be, and I'm all for it, hopefully this is no surprise, I'm all for doing what's best for children, no matter what it costs, but clearly it is costing. It's on so many levels. This theoretically would make things better, not always for children, but then also for funding.
Absolutely, and if you recall the special ed budget hearing from our last meeting, the costs associated with special education are rising and the needs are rising. So that's what prompted this consortium.
best way to put it is we're not alone, and there's others looking to grow economies of scale, pool resources.
Dr. Kimmy, are the members of the Lakes Region Consortium parallel to the Lakes Region High School Consortium? Yes, they are. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Pending their board approvals, obviously. Yes, Tom?
When I speak about the creation of a specialized school, are we talking about a centralized school?
It's hard to say the location, but it would be a state-approved special education program. So in the Lakes region, this is very preliminary, but there is an interest in the development of a special ed school for preschool through grade 8 specifically. Yes, that central can be given the massive lake in the way between this district and all the rest of the Lakes region.
Yeah. So the idea of a specialized school is to take kids at a certain level of disability, make them out of their local school, and send them to the specialized school.
So the process would be only if their public school was not meeting their needs. So the special education team is the only body that can make that decision. And we have, and other districts have students that need a specialized school. Those teams have made those decisions, and there's nowhere for them to go. So that's where this is coming from, the need to increase quality special education programming for kids with disabilities who, for many, many reasons, cannot access their education in their home public school. I hope that answered your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions or a motion?
I move to do it, or what's the level of the language meeting?
Move to,
Join the Lakes Region Consortium.
so a motion would be to join the Lakes Region Consortium as presented.
So
Moved by Mary, is there a second? Is that a second? Seconded by Dr. Jim. Is there any discussion? The only discussion is, I think, very clearly, thank you. You'll notice in section 2, it says, by working as a consortium, districts need to improve service delivery, centralizing services will allow better coordination and consistency across districts, ensuring that services are delivered effectively to meet the needs of students. Increased buying power, pooling resources and needs across districts may provide an opportunity to negotiate better pricing, contract terms, potentially reducing costs while maintaining high-quality services. And also, at this time, you can see under section 3, it says no financial commitment. At this time, there is no financial obligation for any district other than agreeing to work together and explore possible solutions. Should the consortium move forward with any proposals, financial details will be addressed through separate agreements. So in my personal opinion, I think this is a collaborative and innovative way for us to deal with some of our rising special education costs within our school district and why we're currently in a budget freeze. So I think this consortium affords us and other school districts in similar situations the opportunity to keep our standard of services as they are, if not better, but decrease our costs by pooling our resources and taxpayer funds that we're entrusted with. So I would strongly support this.
I agree 100%. I was just, so being, from Effingham and, Ossipee residents, are there other groups like this, like in White Mountain, area, like Freedom, Madison,
It's incredibly difficult to find services as you go north in the state. the North Country struggles with finding services, finding contracted services with placement, even more than we do in the Lakes region. Whether that's mental health services, whether that's speech and language, occupational therapy, physical therapy, vision therapy, it's practically non-existent. So what happens is they contract services and people just have to travel farther and farther and farther, or you're contracting services that are virtual. And so then we take it because otherwise it's nothing. So they absolutely face the same struggles.
Yeah, I guess if they, say Conway decides to make, Conway, Madison, Wentworth would it be better, well, to benefit like Ospey and Effingham, some of the Tuckerborough kids that are close to the Ospey line, could we join, the same type of organization there? I mean, I don't know if that's, I know I gotta get this is a Lakes region thing, but like, if the school, hypothetically speaking, ends up in, I don't know, Guilford, right? Some kid from Effingham has to now drive an hour, and I understand, the reason they go there is because they need that specialty school, but, they don't have one now, so, just, keeping options open for, kids on the other side. So.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, Mary.
Just a comment, and correct me if I'm wrong. For the public, it's not that more and more students are special needs all of a sudden for whatever reason. The early intervention, the early identification, and the appropriate responses, it's incredible, and it needs to be supported as it is. And we have friends who travel across town for an intervention that will be addressed, graduate, so to speak. So that I just applaud it, it's great, but it's not going to be easy. And then great minds working together is going to make it happen.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, close the discussion, and Kathy, call the roll once you're ready.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kristen? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. Motion passes 8-0, and we'll move on to the Kingswood Regional Middle School crowdfunding request. This is a crowdfunding request for Kingswood Regional Middle School and Crystal Lake School National History Day, National Competition crowdfunding. And I believe that's who gave us the presentation they do with the National History Day. So I'll let the superintendent introduce this request.
Thank you. This is a joint request between the middle school and Crescent Lake. This is per school district policy DFGA crowdfunding. We're required to bring this before the board for your consideration and approval, hopefully. The middle school are planning to go to Washington, D.C. June 8th through June 12th for National History Day competition to travel and compete in Washington, D.C. on National History Day. The funds raised will be used to help students offset travel, hotel, and other expenses. And having this crowdfunding platform will definitely assist with reaching their fundraising goals.
Are there any questions or motion? Yeah. Oh, okay. Then I'll second Dr. Beth's motion. So the motion is to approve the funding, the crowdfunding request as proposed, moved by Dr. Beth, seconded by myself. Is there any discussion or questions?
Given the presentation that we saw tonight, I think we should empower these young people to continue this journey. That's why I'm voting in favor of this.
Any further discussion? No? Okay. I'll close discussion, and Kathy, if you can call the roll once you're ready.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kristen? Yes.
Motion passes 8-0, and we will move on to the New Hampshire State Council of Arts grant. I'll put the floor back to Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. I'm happy to share that Scott Giesler was awarded a grant in the amount of $1,300 from the New Hampshire Council of the Arts. And this, to receive the funding, the grant, the application to receive the funds require the board to authorize the contact, to enter into contracts with New Hampshire State Council on the Arts. So the board, this was a difficult application to kind of interpret, but it does have, there's corporate board resolution form. The board needs to vote to grant to the authority to the person signing the grant agreement. So certainly Scott Giesler has many ways to spend $1,300 given all of the fantastic events at the Arts Center. But this requires the board to authorize us to enter into the contract with the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts.
I just have 2 quick questions to start. My first is, who are we authorizing to sign? So we're authorizing Scott Giesler to sign. Yeah, that's not how I do it. Yeah, No, not that one. On the back of, yeah, it says corporate board resolution.
Who is authorized to contact company the person named on this form is the person that signs it.
But I also saw, where's that language that you saw, Dr. Beth? Meeting. Yeah, because it says at some point what Dr. Beth said, someone who, is on the board or treasurer, and then it also says who's applied. Yeah, we are officers, but I agree,
But I think you were authorizing us, so you could say the district, for instance, we authorize
okay.
Here, Scott Giesler is duly authorized to enter into contracts with agreements on behalf of, I think he's certified and
Oh. So I need to sign, but to certify that Scott can sign? Okay, so. So maybe the motion for approving this is that the board certifies the board chair, the business administrator, and Scott Giesler to sign all the paperwork necessary to execute the grant. So someone make that motion. So moved by Nate, seconded by Dr. Beth. Yes, Kathy, can you need me to repeat that? Yes, so the board authorizes the board chair, business administrator, Scott Giesler to be authorized to sign all the necessary paperwork related to this grant. So whatever this grant's called, Council Partnership Project Grant. And we can amend the minutes if we didn't get it perfect at the next meeting. But I think we get the general idea of what we're doing. My other question is, what is this money for? It wasn't very clear that there's a block, right? And you can just utilize it however you want. So I'm not opposed to that, I'm just curious. You didn't share it? Okay. I mean, again, I'm not opposed. Yeah, I'd like a follow-up email on it just because I'm not opposed to us getting, what is it, 17,000? Oh, 1,300. Okay. I don't know where I got that number. Oh, that's a crowdfunding one. Okay. We just approved. So $1,300. I guess it's, I'm still curious, like, what we're gonna utilize it for. So if we could just get follow up on that. Is there any other additional questions or comments? Seeing none, Kathy, if you could call the roll on that motion as we're ready, please.
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Yes. Tom?
Yep.
Brody?
Aye. Wood Estate applications. Sorry.
You got it. So we have 2 Wood Estate applications. And I'll start with the first one in your packet is also for the 2025 National History Day team from GWRSD, 16 students from Crescent Lake School and Kingswood Regional Middle School. The overall planned budget for the team is $18,930. You heard how they're planning to fundraise $10,000 of it from the crowdfunding. And the remaining balance of the Wood Estate grant at this time is is $8,400. They're making a request for $8,400 to fund this trip. So to do these separately?
Yeah. I guess my only question is the same question I ask every time, is how much is in the trust? How much left can we expend, and will we have competing requests before the end of this fiscal year?
The Wood Estate had 730, she emailed me. It has I'm not pretending to know the numbers. The Wood Estate had $733,578.01 at year end of fiscal year 2024. Per policy DDA, the district can only obligate and pay $22,007.34 this fiscal year ending June 2025. The request for the Wood Estate for the field trip is based on the remaining balance available per policy, and the only thing available is $8,400. The next request in your packet will be taken out of next year, as it always is for scholarships. Would you like to explain that?
Oh, yes, no, you can go right ahead.
The scholarship request for the KRHS class of 2025 of $10,000 will be considered a request for next year, fiscal year 2026, because that is when the money is paid out to the students as they most successfully complete their first semester of college.
My only, so we have current requester requesting $8,400, which is remaining, so we have about $8,400 remaining that we can expend for fiscal year 2025 from the Wood Estate account. And we don't anticipate lowering any additional requests as the rest of the year goes by or as we're in a budget freeze.
I can't promise that, it would be
Okay.
I'm very supportive of this. However, crowdfunding is not a sure thing. And so I would maybe suggest that we would be happy to do this release from the trust contingent upon success, that they're actually able to do the trip.
Right, because if they didn't raise the $10,000, then the $8,400 would be for nothing.
My understanding is that they are going ahead ready and going to do this trip. It would just come out of individual students' families themselves to send them. And so we're really trying to subsidize and lower the cost for the families. It's approximately $1,000 per student, and that includes the airfare, hotel, expenses while they're there, food. So most of them are already purchased. We had to purchase flights and already book hotels. So the majority of them are going ahead no matter what.
Okay. Then I would ask for, unless there's any additional questions, but I would ask for a motion to approve the Wood Estate Expendable Trust Fund application for the World History Day as presented, or the National History Day as presented. Moved by Dr. Jim.
Second.
Seconded by Kayla Hewitt. Congratulations. So is there any further discussion or questions? Kathy, you can call the roll once you're ready.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Tom?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye. We didn't approve the other one.
Oh.
So, the other motion will be for approving the Wood Estate expenditure. What do you want the motion to be? Oh, so to approve the, can you just tell us what it was?
I'm just confused by it. I'm trying to think about what exactly it is. You want us to approve the Wood Estate expendable trust fund application for Kingswood Regional High School? Okay.
Scholarships and math.
For fiscal year 26. Okay, so the motion is to approve the Wood Estate expendable trust fund application as presented with $10,000 worth of scholarships for the class of 2025 and the fiscal year 26.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Chen, seconded by Nick. You can ask a question now. All right.
Is this typical for us to encumber the account in future fiscal years? I just don't want like a run.
Yeah, this is pretty standard.
What do you need? You want this.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I think we call the roll, please.
Dr. Jim?
Aye.
Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kristen? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that concludes the superintendent's report. We'll go into my report. I'll be very brief. Correspondence, we received an invite. I don't know if you guys also had in your board meeting package. We received an invite from Effingham Elementary School, Monday, May 19th at 8:15 a.m. Is Volunteer Appreciation Celebration. So if you guys want to take a photo of this on your phone later so you can try to attend it, or pass it down and take a photo so you don't forget it, feel free. Teacher Appreciation Week. We sent out, I signed on behalf of the board a note to staff, sharing our great appreciation for the great endeavors that they partake in every day to support our children and foster and nurture their education and support our communities. So very happy to send that note and happy that we have the resources to do that during the budget freeze. Manchester School Boards Association training. We need to decide what day we want to do our training. We could have done it, I think, tomorrow, and I told Barrett that's too short notice for everyone. Barrett Christina, he's the executive director of the School Boards Association, so you could all pull out your phone calendars. I believe it was the 19th and the 26th is what we had floated to Barrett. So it was the 29th.
Oh, sorry, paper.
I know it's on my paper, but I thought it was wrong, but I think it is the 29th. One second, I'm going to open up an email from Barrett. Yes. 19th or 29th. Kathy Legassi is right, as always. I should never second guess her. So the 19th or the 29th, it would probably be about 5 to 6 o'clock, maybe. Is that what Barrett said, 6 o'clock? I just had the email open for that. Yeah, so probably about 6 o'clock on the 19th or the 29th. I have a feeling it might be late on the 29th, but it really depends on when the state legislature meets, so I have to be there for work. But let's see. The 19th I could probably do. Is the 19th pretty available for others? At 6? We post it as a special board meeting, we would do our general assurances update, and then we would get our training from there. Yep. So we will, I think I had it for action. So if someone would make a motion that we'll do the NHSBA board training on May 19th. Moved by Dr. Beth, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Jim, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Kathy, could you call the roll once you're ready?
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Rudy?
Aye.
We'll make sure we get correspondence out as soon as possible, because hopefully, I forgot Daniel Van Dusen isn't at this meeting, but hopefully she'll be available that day too. But having 8 board members attend is more than great. Last year, I think we only had 6, so it's really important that we make a commitment. Let me just my calendar. Okay, that concludes my report, so we will enter into committee reports. So first we'll start with academic affairs. Dr. Beth, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. Academic Affairs has not yet elected a team leader, and so I will be taking care of this section tonight on their behalf. We have 2 policies recommended for reaffirmation. This is a second read, so that means for the new members, that means that they are going into policy as revised. Those 2 policies, I'll just read what they are, and then we can vote on those, and then we'll do the revisions in block as well as withdrawals in block. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Great. So the first policy block for reaffirmation are 2 policies. Policy AD, philosophy of Governor Wentworth Regional School District, and policy DJ, which is purchasing. Do I have a motion to accept those 2 policies?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second. Dr. Jim? Kathy, when you're ready?
Is it by Mary?
Yes, Mary moved and Jim second.
Dr. Jim?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Rudy?
Aye.
Great. Now we'll move on to the second block. These are the policies that were recommended for revision. They include policy BDE, board committees, which I will just note will reestablish the community relations committee for this board. Policy JKA, corporal punishment. Policy JLCA, physical examinations of students. Policy JLCB, immunizations and tests. Policy JLCC, communicable infectious diseases. JLCE, first aid and emergency medical care. JLCF, student wellness activity. JLCK, special physical health needs of students. JLD, school counseling services. JLDBA, behavior management and intervention. JLIA, supervision of students. JLIE, student automobile use. JRB, directory information and student records. KA, school community home relations. KBEA, children of divorced or separated parents. KFA, public conduct on school property. KH, solicitations. KHC, distribution of promotional and/or commercial materials. KI, visitors to school. LDA, student teachers and interns. LEB, advanced coursework, advanced placement courses. I should take a motion first and then we'll do discussion. Did we accept for revision? Yeah.
I'll second.
For a second. Any discussion?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah, I read this and I think it's very well written. I think My only comment is, there won't be any more paper handouts, like physical paper handouts, but I guess that's just a sign of times. But I think, oh, sorry, KHC. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, that has to do with the distribution of promotional and/or commercial materials, and I think it's a fair compromise, though, is that, you can't expect the school district to print, or you print and drop a bunch of handouts in the school district to distribute physically to students, but I think it's more than reasonable to include in our communications when approved by our administrative team, different materials, as long as they don't do, materials that do the following are unacceptable. That's on the second page of the policy, those things that, we wouldn't want to be distributing as a school district, so. Thank you, waiting about a year and a half to do this.
I'll back up that and say, I got today for the rec department last week for Fishing Derby, and it came, and I got it before my kids got home, so I'm probably gonna get it, and versus like not getting it through their bag, so.
Yeah.
But I do want to look at, so JLCC, which is, what's that? Okay, sorry.
So my only question is, do the schools have discretion if they wanted to, post a flyer in the building? Would they be allowed to do that? They could. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Otherwise, thank you very much for this. Right, as long as it's not against the policy as written. Once approved. Okay. Great. I would feel bad if the dance academy couldn't put their Christmas flyer up or whatever it is.
So JLCC is about, ice. Yeah, I know. So I was wondering, I know this is probably a directive, comes from the School Board Association. I was wondering why there wasn't anything in there about treatment. So I looked at the DHS website, and it does say, to ask that the parents make one treatment before the kid comes back to school. I think it's a pretty good ask. We do the same thing with kids can't come in with a temperature above a certain amount. They get sent home if they come in. They can't come in, because they have a temperature of 100 something. Just,
Yeah, so with this has been a policy that over time has changed depending on the perspective of the medical community, sorry. So we're following their guidance in terms of that. And it's in previous years, it has been, an active knit, you go home, you don't come back until, and at this point, it's more the inclusion than exclusion and education and teaching the families and encouraging the treatment.
Okay, so it's not like a requirement, you can't put that in there. The requirement is, I get that they can stay in school, and that's fine, but they go home, but before they go back the next day, then they would have to go on a treatment for ice.
We can't necessarily mandate that, but we can have the nurse check in terms of symptoms still, and then manage it from there.
Okay.
So just a little bit more of a burden on the nurses in that respect, but I appreciate your question.
Thank you.
And we do have verbal and or written instructions for treatment will be given to the family of each identified student. They'll include recommendations for treatment that are consistent with NHDHHS, and the school nurse may offer extra help and information. So, but as far as requiring, we can't basically prevent access to school if they don't treat.
So it's say, when you take your temperature, like nurses now, if you have a temperature over a certain degrees, you can't come to school, they'll send you home. So and I know that I looked at the DHS website does recommend that you treat once before the kids come back to school, as well as Head Start too. I looked them all up today, so I didn't know. I get this, we have to stay, but I just feel like,
I totally understand what you're saying. I think this was changed to be that they should not be excluded from school if they have any nits or head lice, because sometimes families don't have access to treatment and such.
Would they get sent home if they had? No. Oh. Yeah.
Any further discussion?
One more, sorry. Not this one.
Okay, very good.
Where is it? It's KFA. It's about policy of conduct of school property. I noticed it mentions tobacco products, but it doesn't mention like vapes. I understand that not all vapes are tobacco products, but preventing them from being used on school property.
Can we consider? Because vape usually maybe could involve tobacco or other substances.
It's KF.
KFA.
What is it? Sorry.
It's KFA.
KFA, sorry, yes.
Don't we usually consider smoking and vaping to be the same thing?
But it says tobacco, it doesn't say how.
Or otherwise use tobacco, so it doesn't matter how. So that could be chewing, that could be vape, it could be
Well,
anything.
some vape doesn't have any tobacco, it's just nicotine.
We talked about that at academic affairs in terms of if the legislature changed in including THC and, like we did when e-cigarettes and vaping.
Right, like you get smoking, you can't use a vape on an airplane, you can't use a vape. Like, and I know the state made that same, it's the same thing, it's the same.
And our SRO is definitely enforcing the anti-vape right now.
Right, I just didn't know if we should include it in this policy or specifically call it tobacco products and so on.
Would you like to suggest an additional?
So certainly it's illegal for anyone, I believe under the age of 18 or 21, to have a vape regardless of substance. So that would be certainly under number 7, they may not consume, possess, or distribute illegal drugs, controlled substances. So I would say that covers something else within the vape that isn't necessarily tobacco.
So what number was that? Sorry.
That's number
Number
7 on page 2.
At the bottom of page 2.
Under C.
You could say smoke/inhale, smoke, inhale, or otherwise use tobacco. We're concerned with that.
We could add nicotine to that.
Smoke or otherwise use tobacco and nicotine products. Is that good? We did,
If we add nicotine to number 6.
Yeah.
yes, smoke or otherwise use tobacco and nicotine products.
Yeah, good.
Or nicotine products.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. At this time, we'll take a motion to adopt the policies for revision in this block.
We already have.
Oh, is it already? Okay. Well, yeah. Who made the motion?
Mary motion and I second.
Oh, already have it.
So if you could call the roll, Kathy, once you're ready.
Dr. Jim?
Yeah.
Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yes.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Yes. Tom?
Yes.
Brody?
Aye.
Okay.
2 policies remain. These are for withdrawal. They are policy DIAA, Student Activities Account, and policy JLA, Student Insurance Program. Student Activities Account is being withdrawn because the content of the policy is covered by JJF and the management form JJF-R. And JLA is being withdrawn because we no longer offer a student insurance program. And I will take a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Pam?
Dr. Jim?
Yeah.
Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Kayla?
Yes.
Kirsten?
Yes.
Tom?
Yeah.
Brody?
Aye.
This concludes the academic affairs report.
Thank you. I don't think any of our committees have met since our last meeting, other than community relations. So, buildings and maintenance, when is their upcoming meeting? It was. Yeah, okay, so buildings and maintenance canceled their meeting that was scheduled, so, and finance doesn't have to meet until next budget season, so I'll let Kayla and Kirsten know, you guys will both be appointed to buildings and maintenance and finance. So those are the two openings that we have, and, usually there are later assignments for newer board members, so they can learn about the finance process, the budget process, and also learn about some of our physical plant and our facilities that we have throughout the district. So those are the two committees I started with, so congrats. Human resources, we'll start negotiations sometime in the fall, or maybe a little bit sooner once the team reaches out to us. Community relations had a meeting though, so who wants to report on that?
Community Relations hosted a very successful PTO summit earlier this evening, which included a tour of the LRTC, and we are continuing to have conversations about next steps and plans for the committee, and we're very excited to be officially back in the rotation for the board.
Oh, thanks.
And that's, now we enter into closing activities, so advanced planning. Last meeting, I know we got a handout of all the upcoming end of year events, so keep watching for when dates and times those events are scheduled. Kathy Legassi and the superintendent will be sending us emails as those things are scheduled and invitations. Some future meeting dates and events is this week is Teacher Staff Appreciation Week. May 26th is No School It's Memorial Day. May 29th is currently the Gold Scholar Luncheon. June 2nd is the retirement ceremony at the KRHS Lecture Hall, so our celebration of retirement staff. June 2nd is also our next school board meeting, also at the KRHS Lecture Hall. And June 13th is graduation with a rain date of June 14th, so mark your calendars. Also, for anyone in the public or board members, please see GWRSD.org/calendar for the most current event details subject to change. And with that, we will enter into our second public input period, 15 minutes, 3 minutes per individual, unless it's sent by vote of the board. I ask, public input is an opportunity to provide input. I don't know, are any of you going to provide public input? No? Okay, well, just be respectful if you change your mind in the next few seconds. Seeing no public input, I'll close the public input, and we will go into non-public under RSA 91-813, Roman 2 for personnel and legal matters. I'll ask that motion to go into non-public for those reasons. So moved by Dr. Jim, seconded by Dr. Beth. Yeah, we'll have a 5-minute break, but if we could, Matt, you could call the roll.
Dr. Jim? Yes. Mary? Yes. Dr. Beth? Yes. Nate?
Yeah.
Kayla? Yes. Kirsten? Yes. Tom? Yes. Brody?
Aye. All right, we're intending to go into non-public. Yeah, we're going to